Okay, so get this right. Imagine a country, any country, and they're like, we're going to jump like 60 spots in the global digital government rankings. Not in a century, not in decades, but in a few years. Ambitious much. That's Morocco's game plan right now. And you've sent over some fascinating articles suggesting they're not just, blowing smoke. They seem to be laying the groundwork for a serious digital revolution. So today, we're diving deep, really deep into Morocco Digital 2030, their national strategy, to see what's what.
The thing is, what's remarkable here is that they've gone beyond the usual, the typical buzzwords you hear with these sorts of
All
things.
right.
They actually crafted a strategy with surprisingly very concrete targets. I mean, 240,000 new digital jobs by 2030. That's incredibly specific, and it signals, to me at least, a real commitment to tangible outcomes.
It's not just about, throwing out big numbers to grab headlines.
Right.
What makes this different from, any other country saying, hey, we want to be digital too? We've all heard that before.
It's all in the details. They've actually identified very specific sectors for digital growth, like e-government, digital exports, which is an interesting one, and even fostering a startup ecosystem. So it's not just about digitizing, existing processes. This is about positioning Morocco as a real player, a serious player in the global digital economy.
So less catching up and more like leapfrogging ahead, kind of.
Exactly.
Right. I kind of like their style.
Yeah.
But ambitions this big, I mean, there have to be some serious challenges along the way, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the biggest hurdles, I think, will be bridging what we call the digital divide. So while Morocco has certainly made progress in, expanding internet access and things like that, there are still some significant disparities, especially between urban and rural areas. And then there's the issue of digital literacy.
And that's crucial, right? I mean, this whole digital economy thing, it only works if everyone's on board, if everyone's got the skills to participate.
Right. And it has to be equitable.
Yeah. And one thing that stood out to me in these articles was their emphasis on training and education. I mean, they even have a target of training 100,000 professionals. Like, wow.
It's ambitious, no doubt, but it's essential, and it shows, a real commitment to investing in human capital. They're not just relying on a tech-savvy youth population to carry this. They're actively investing in upskilling their existing workforce.
It's like they're taking a long-term view of this, not just a quick fix.
Precisely. And what's interesting is the articles highlight their plan to leverage something like 2,250 existing vocational training institutions.
Wow.
Across the country. So this suggests they're really trying to, reach people where they are rather than just focusing on, big cities and urban centers.
That's a really good point because, I mean, digital skills shouldn't be, a luxury for urban elites, right? It needs to reach everyone to have a real impact to really transform the country. But here's the thing. Are these training programs, are they just churning out graduates with, generic tech skills?
Yeah.
Or are they actually aligned with, the real demands of the digital job market?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And unfortunately, the articles we have don't delve that deep into, the curriculum or the specifics of the training programs.
Right.
However, there is mention of partnerships with the private sector in designing these programs. So that suggests at least that they're attempting to make the training relevant. They're getting input from businesses to see, okay, what are the actual skills that you need, that are in demand right now.
Yeah, it's like you need that feedback loop to make sure people are learning the right stuff. Otherwise, it's almost pointless. And speaking of the private sector, I was really struck by that quote from the head of Morocco's biggest business federation. He seemed very much on board with this whole digital push. What's the significance of that from your perspective?
I mean, having the private sector on board, it's huge. It suggests that this isn't just, a government-led initiative, right? There's genuine buy-in from the key stakeholders who will ultimately, drive this digital transformation. They're the ones who are going to be creating the jobs, investing in these technologies, and their focus on digital exports is particularly interesting.
Yeah, that really caught my eye too. What kind of digital exports are we even talking about here?
Yeah.
Is Morocco going to be like the next Silicon Valley, exporting apps and software all over the world?
Well, it's too early to say if they'll reach Silicon Valley status.
Right.
But the ambition is certainly there. And digital exports can encompass, a whole range of things, right? It could be software development, IT services, digital marketing, content creation. And Morocco, actually, they already have, a burgeoning tech scene, believe it or not. And
Right.
this strategy seems designed to really catapult them onto the global stage.
So they're not just aiming to, serve the local market. They really want to compete globally.
Exactly.
But that takes more than just having, skilled workers, right? I mean, what else do they need to make this vision, this grand vision, a reality?
Well, one absolutely crucial factor is infrastructure.
Yeah.
So while Morocco, like I said, has made some strides in expanding internet access, they'll need to invest heavily in building a really robust and reliable digital infrastructure that can support a truly thriving digital economy.
Right. So think high-speed internet everywhere, secure data centers,
Exactly.
a regulatory framework that encourages, that fosters innovation.
Exactly. All of that.
It's like building a house, right? I mean, you can't just focus on the fancy interior design. You need a strong foundation.
100%.
But even with the best infrastructure and, the most skilled workforce in the world, there are bound to be bumps on the road.
Oh, for sure.
What are some of the potential pitfalls they'll need to navigate, to keep this thing on track?
Yeah, so one potential pitfall, is that ambitious government initiatives like this, they can sometimes get bogged down in bureaucracy,
Oh, I've seen that happen before.
right?
Great ideas on paper, but then reality sets in.
Exactly. So to avoid that fate, Morocco will need to ensure efficient implementation, transparency and accountability in how they actually roll out these digital initiatives.
It's like you need a good project manager or something,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. You need somebody to keep things on track and make sure the money is being spent wisely, all of that. And speaking of money, another potential challenge is, of course, funding.
Right.
These digital ambitions, I mean, they require, significant investment, and not just from the government, but also from the private sector, potentially international donors.
You're talking some serious cash.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're going to need like deep pockets to really pull this off.
Hmm.
But even with the best funding in the world, the best execution, there's always that human element, right?
Mm-hmm.
The potential for resistance to change, people who are afraid of, job displacement, their livelihoods being disrupted.
That's such a critical point. I mean, it often gets overlooked, I think, in these, grand visions of digital transformation and all this. And it's easy to get caught up in the excitement of new technologies and all of that, but we can't forget about, the people, the actual people whose lives are going to be directly impacted by these changes.
Yeah. It's got to be about more than just the technology itself, right? It's about the impact on people's lives. And the articles did mention that Morocco has a relatively young population, many of whom, they're already pretty tech savvy. They're eager to embrace new technologies and all that.
Right, and that's a definite advantage for sure. But they also need to, at the same time, they need to address the concerns of, older generations, people who maybe aren't as comfortable with technology, people who are working in more traditional industries that might be, apprehensive, understandably, about this whole digital shift.
So it's about like bringing everyone along, not just, the tech savvy youth, as you said.
Precisely. It's about ensuring that the benefits of this whole digital transformation, they're shared equitably, and that no one is left behind in the process.
It makes me think about that other article you shared, the one highlighting Morocco's new plan for higher education.
Yeah.
I mean, that launched alongside this whole digital push, right?
Right. Yeah, and that's a fascinating piece of the puzzle because it suggests, to me at least, a more holistic approach to development. It seems like they're recognizing that a truly successful digital economy, it requires, a strong foundation in education.
Of course, yeah.
And not just, technical skills, which are obviously important, but also like critical thinking, problem solving, that kind of thing, adaptability.
So it's about preparing students, not just for the jobs of today, but like for the jobs of tomorrow that might not even exist yet.
Yeah, exactly. It's about fostering a culture of lifelong learning
Mm.
where people are, they're equipped to adapt and to thrive in what's going to be an increasingly, rapidly evolving, digital landscape.
Right, because the goalposts are constantly shifting.
Exactly.
You can't just learn one thing and be set for life. It's like they're planting seeds today.
Yeah.
They're hoping to harvest the fruits of a really thriving digital economy,
Yeah.
years, maybe even decades down the line.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And speaking of, harvesting fruits, I'm curious to see, I mean, what kind of impact will this whole digital transformation have on, on Morocco's economy as a whole?
Me too, because they've, like you said, I mean, they set some pretty ambitious goals. But will it actually translate into, real economic growth, job creation, improved living standards? Like, what does success actually look like for everyday Moroccans?
That's the ultimate question, isn't it?
Yeah, that really is the million-dollar question. Right? I mean, it's exciting to think about, Morocco, like this digital powerhouse.
Right.
But how does that translate into like tangible benefits for everyday people? What would success actually look like on the ground, if we were to like zoom in a few years from now?
Well, for one, I think you'd expect to see, kind of a surge in digital entrepreneurship. Young Moroccans launching, innovative startups, not just for the local market, but, with global ambitions. And that means, more high-skilled jobs, obviously. You've got a larger pool of skilled workers and hopefully a sort of, a brain gain as talented Moroccans who maybe, are living abroad, working abroad. They see, hey, there's actually, there's something here now.
Right. It's like almost like a positive feedback loop.
Exactly.
Success breeding more success.
It's,
But we have to acknowledge not everyone's an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
Not everyone wants to start their own business.
Yeah.
What about like opportunities for people who, maybe they're not looking to be the next Steve Jobs? What about just, good solid jobs?
Right. And that's where the growth of the broader digital economy comes in, right? So as more businesses embrace, digital tools and platforms and ways of working, it creates this ripple effect across all sorts of industries. We're talking e-commerce, digital marketing, logistics, finance. Like all of these sectors are going to need people with those skills.
So even traditional industries are going to have to adapt
Absolutely.
and hire people who can navigate, this digital landscape.
100%, yeah. And let's not forget about the potential for digital technology to really transform how, public services are delivered. The articles mention, e-government initiatives.
Right.
And if they can actually implement these effectively, I mean, this can make a huge difference in people's everyday lives.
It's like, imagine like being able to access government services, pay your bills, file your taxes all online without having to like, stand in line for hours, deal with all the bureaucracy. I mean, that could save people so much time, so much money, and probably a whole lot of frustration.
Exactly.
But all of this, I mean, it all hinges on whether they can actually implement these grand plans effectively, right?
You hit the nail on the head, because execution is everything. And one of the articles did mention a government commitment to transparency and accountability, in how they're going to roll out these initiatives. And that's encouraging, but as they say, the proof is in the pudding, right?
So we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. It's almost like we're watching this fascinating experiment unfold in real time, right?
Yeah.
A country like really trying to chart a new course for itself, and they're using technology as their compass.
And it's not just about Morocco, right? I mean, their journey, their story, I think it holds, valuable lessons, I think, for other countries, especially in the developing world, who are also looking to, to harness the power of technology for economic and social progress.
It's a good reminder that the future isn't like, predetermined. It's being shaped right now by the choices that countries like Morocco are making today.
Exactly. And that's what makes, these deep dives so fascinating for me. We get to like really explore these complex issues, way different perspectives, and hopefully, come away with a better understanding of the forces that are shaping, our world.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's been really eye-opening to delve into Morocco's digital ambitions with you. Thanks for being our guide, through this complex landscape.
My pleasure. Truly. It's always fun to unpack these big ideas and explore the potential for positive change.
And to our listener, hey, thanks for sending in these really thought-provoking articles.
Yeah.
We hope this deep dive has given you a more nuanced perspective on what's going on in Morocco with this digital leap. It's a story about ambition and innovation and really the challenges of navigating a rapidly changing world.
A world where, as we've seen, technology plays an increasingly central role.
And while there are no guarantees. There's no crystal ball here. Morocco's journey is a powerful reminder, I think, that even in a complex and uncertain world, bold action, coupled with strategic planning, a real commitment to inclusivity, these things can create, the potential for a brighter future.
A future worth striving for.
Well said, well said. Until next time, keep asking questions, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.